From the rock bottom. In a small village in Italy in the year 1503, there lived a man named Wesley. Wesley was poor. He lived in a tiny house made of wood and straw with a roof that leaked when it rained. His clothes were patched, his shoes had holes, and his meals were simple, mostly bread and soup. Every day, Wesley worked hard in the fields, planting and harvesting crops for the wealthy landowners. His hands were rough and calloused. His back ached from long hours of bending, but Wesley never complained. Even though Wesley had little, he dreamed of a better life. He often stood at the edge of the fields and stared at the grand manor house where the landowners lived. He imagined wearing fine clothes, eating warm meals, and, most of all, being respected. But in those days, people believed that if you were born poor, you would stay poor. The rich stayed rich, and the poor stayed poor. Wesley didn't believe that. Deep in his heart, he thought, if I work hard, learn, and never give up, maybe I can change my life. Wesley wasn't just hardworking, he was clever too. As he worked in the fields, he watched how the plants grew. He noticed which crops thrived in dry soil and which needed more water. He saw how the sun helped some plants and hurt others. Most people didn't think about these things, but Wesley did. He wanted to understand the land better than anyone. At night, when other workers rested, Wesley stayed up late. By candlelight, he carved tools out of wood to make farming easier. He didn't have money to buy fancy equipment, so he made his own. His hands were skilled, and his mind was always thinking of ways to improve. One day, while working in the fields, Wesley had an idea. He thought, what if I plant the seeds in straight rows instead of scattering them? Maybe it will help them grow faster and make it easier to care for them. Excited by his idea, Wesley went to the landowner to ask if he could try it. The landowner was a rich and stern man who didn't think much of Wesley. When Wesley explained his idea, the landowner laughed and said, "What does a poor farmer like you know about farming? But fine, try it on a small part of the field. If it works, I'll take the credit." Wesley didn't care who got the credit. He just wanted to see if his idea would work. He worked harder than ever, planting the seeds carefully in neat, straight rows. He used the tools he had made to dig the soil and water the plants. Every day, he checked on them, pulling out weeds and making sure they had enough sunlight. Weeks passed, and something amazing happened. The crops in Wesley's section of the field grew faster, taller, and stronger than the others. The landowner was astonished. "How did you do this?" he asked. Wesley explained his method, and soon, everyone in the village was talking about the young man who had found a better way to farm. Word of Wesley's success spread to nearby towns. Wealthy merchants and farmers came to see his fields. They asked him for advice, and Wesley gladly shared his knowledge. In return, they paid him with money, food, and better tools. Wesley saved every coin he earned. Instead of spending it, he bought his own small piece of land. For the first time, Wesley wasn't just a worker, he was a landowner. He planted crops on his new land, using his ideas to make them grow better than ever. He worked from sunrise to sunset, and soon, his farm became the most successful in the area. Other poor farmers came to Wesley, asking for help. Wesley didn't turn them away. He taught them his methods, showed them how to use better tools, and helped them improve their crops. Wesley believed that knowledge should be shared, not kept to oneself. One day, a messenger arrived at Wesley's farm. The messenger wore fine clothes and rode a beautiful horse. "Are you Wesley?" he asked. Wesley nodded, unsure why someone so important was visiting him. "The Duke has heard of your success," the messenger said. "He wishes to meet you." Wesley was both nervous and excited. He had never been to a castle before. When he arrived, the grand halls and high ceilings took his breath away. The Duke, a powerful and wealthy man, greeted Wesley warmly. "I have heard of your great work," the Duke said. "You have changed the way people farm. I need someone like you to manage my lands. Will you work for me?" Wesley couldn't believe his ears. "Yes, Your Grace," he said, bowing deeply. Working for the Duke changed Wesley's life. He was no longer just a farmer, he was a respected manager of vast lands. He earned enough money to live comfortably, but he never forgot where he came from. Wesley continued to help the poor farmers in his village, teaching them new ways to farm and helping them earn more money. Wesley became known not just for his success but for his kindness. People admired him because he proved that hard work and determination could change a person's life. Years later, when people told stories about Wesley, they didn't just talk about how rich he became. They talked about how he helped others, lifted his community, and proved that even someone born with nothing could rise to greatness. Wesley's name became a symbol of hope for anyone who dared to dream of a better future.